Oh, hello. I didn't notice you there. Sorry, I was deeply reading this book for the army that is single-handedly one of the most requested armies to see on the channel. And my only question is, why is it Imperial Agents? Imperial Agents, I've had a lot of fun with them in the past and broke my brain with because of the challenge level to stack their abilities and make them function. I took a break from them, started playing Necron, started playing some of the new Grotmus detachments. Felt nice to play an army that just, you spent the CP, you used a stratagem, and you didn't have 9 other cadences to make it work. And we've passed Grotmus, and I can't ignore it. You guys want to see agents. So today I will be playing Imperial Agents, but this is not going to be just a one and done situation because I feel like I need to play 2 games with the agents. So this week we're going to be playing the new Grotmus detachment, the Assassin. It's called the Veiled Shield Elimination Force, I believe. It is the Assassin detachment. It is one where everything in your list bases around the Assassins. You can use some strats on some other things, but they don't get as big of buffs. And some weird ones are 2 command points, which isn't really make that much sense because one of them involves giving a 4 wound, 4 toughness, 4 model, +1 toughness, and a 4 up feel no pain. And it's 2 command points. A little wondering on that one. But a lot of things still have you jumping through hoops. However, these assassins are boosted. There is so many good things that you can do with them at a price, of course, that it makes it interesting. So for this video, I just want to jump right over into the list right now. And because during it, I want to talk a little bit more about the assassins, focus on them a bit, what they do, what they bring to the table, and kind of glaze over some of the back force, because realistically, a lot of the rest of the army, I have to base it on data sheets. So this is what I came up with for this build. Let's go and take a look. All right, so this is the Veiled Blade Elimination Force. So this detachment is based around the assassins. For this, I have taken all 4 of them. You don't necessarily have to. The assassins have the mechanic where you can swap one out if the assassin you're swapping it out for is cheaper. And there's ways to kind of set your list up where you take the Callidus, the Vindicare, and then if you do want a 3rd assassin, you take whichever one's more expensive, I don't know offhand, between the Colossus and the Eversor. And then that really puts you in a position where you can kind of swap those out pertaining on the situation to have whatever you feel you need, you know, with snipers, anti-psychers, anti-infantry, and just a lot of board positioning. There's a lot to be had here. Now, that is the traditional assassins. For this detachment, again, same thing. I took all 4 because why not? We want to, let's do it. Let's go. And they all come at a price. A little bit of a more expensive on these guys than normal because each one of them has to take an enhancement. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. So this is one thing that you would lose if you swap an assassin in, is that you would not have whichever enhancement that each one personally has. Some, I guess, don't really matter as much, but you would not have those. And those you have to take for each one of them. And because assassins are unique, you can only take 1 of each assassin. So that's why we got all 4 of these guys here. So let's go over these assassins. Let's bring them up front because they are the primary, they are the army. And they have to do a lot of heavy lifting because these just shy of 500 points for 4 characters are going to need to basically take on the whole world. And how are they going to do that? Well, let's start with the Vindicare. So first things first, these models. These beautifully painted models come from my good buddy, Anthony Spiceable. I told him I was going to be running this assassin detachment and that I loved his models. I said, hey man, you got to let me borrow these things to put on the channel. If I'm running an assassin detachment, they need to look good for this game. And he got them to me. So again, let's start with the Vindicare. So the Vindicare Assassin is your sniper. He has devastating wounds on his gun's strength 8, AP 3, D3 damage. Precision, ignore cover, and it's heavy too. Even though he already hits on 2s, he could ignore negative modifiers if he's sitting still. His ability, once per battle, when selecting a target, you can add 1 to the wound roll, and any successful hit is a critical wound. So You hit, you crit. Now, his enhancement allows him to have anti-vehicle, anti-monster 4-up. So right there, it allows him to kind of do a little extra work that he can't traditionally do into vehicles. Now, he could do damage to a Land Raider, yes. But what's going to be nice for him is going to be like transport vehicles and smaller vehicles that have less wounds and are sitting off to the side, collecting points. He can do it's D3 plus 3 damage, so it can boost into something else that's maybe heading over there to try and do some damage to remove like a Rhino or things like that. Granted, if we are in a position where we're trying to take down a big boy, he can do D3 plus 1, I'm sorry, D3 plus 3 damage right off rip, so that's nothing to frown at. Obviously, you got to roll dice, so it's not a guarantee, but it's better numbers. And I know we all talk about Vindicare luck and rolling 1s to 1, but for some reason this edition, I have not been feeling that bad luck, and I will knock on wood for that one. Now, the last thing with these guys that I didn't mention is the detachment special rule. This allows them to use their unique activated abilities more than once for 3 of the 4 assassins. Since the Vindicare does have an activated one with the shield break around, he can use that twice. So twice he can go +1 to wound, and all crits are wounds, making that only 3 turns you're shooting just straight shots. And 2 of the turns you can put down heavier firepower. And if he's getting into a situation where he's about to go down, fire off the shield break around just because you can. What's interesting with him is that having that 4s to precision on vehicles and monsters, devastating wound on vehicle and monsters, means that he has more targets that he's able to shoot at, increasing his value. He can shoot at characters which sometimes can get blocked and not be available to him. He's good for shooting at large units, larger, tougher things like, say, Devastator Centurions. They're toughness 7. He's strength 8. Let's go +1 to wound to just guarantee D3 plus 3. Cool. I take out a Centurion in 1 shot. Sometimes that would even matter, where he's able to sit back there and just plink off a squad of Centurions, and if you can hit them and do a little extra damage, you can start weighing their size. So Vindicare, not looking too bad. We'll see how he does. Good home field objective holder and stuff like that. He also has a really cool strat where I can spend a command point, and the strat can be used on any Imperium unit, and it subtracts 1 from a charge roll made on that unit. If it's him, it's -2. So if you drop within 9, I can make that an 11-inch charge real fast. Next up, let's go over to the Culexus. Now, the Culexus is one that probably sees the least amount of play because it's the anti-psyker one, and he's kind of a cool anti-psyker one. He's another one that has an activated action, so he will be able to, twice per game, basically every enemy unit within 9 inches of him takes a battle shock test. You can do this at the start of any command phase. So, since primaries are scored at the end of the command phase, you can do this and potentially stop your opponent from holding an objective. Since it's an AoE and hits everything within 9 inches, this means that even if they have multiple units, you put them at risk of failing and not holding the objective. This test is taken at -1 or -2 if that unit contains psychers. He also has a Feel No Pain 2-up for psychic attacks, which is just insane when it matters. And he is able to deep strike 3 inches, which, as we all know, has changed. So now it's a 6-inch deep strike and not able to charge after. He has psychic. His gun is Psychic Assassin. It's D3 damage, but if it's D3 damage, and if you're going after a psyker unit, you can get 6 shots instead of 3. So that's his little deal and what he does for the most part. As far as enhancements are concerned, he can use the grenade. It's terrible that he can't use the grenade strat for free, which really for a 40-point enhancement, I feel like he should. But if you target him with the grenade strat, the grenades blow up on a 3-up instead of a 4-up. So he does mortal wounds for 1 pip better. I really think it should be a 0 CP as well, because it's only 1 pip better for D3. As far as stratagems are concerned for this one specific model, you can use a strat on any agent's unit, and that unit has sustained 1. If it's a Colossus, you change the damage characteristic of the equipped weapon by 3. So in the situation where the Colossus is going at a Psyker unit that has 3 wound models in it, his weapon does not have devastating wounds, but it is anti-Psyker 2-up. So you can throw 6 shots with precision and try and hunt that Psyker out of there with flat 3 damage and start from there. What's kind of cool with that and that stratagem is into matchups with things like Librarius Conclave, you can pick off the Librarian and knock away the 4-up invuln for something else that can shoot a value. You just got to find out what we're getting that can shoot a value out of Imperial Agents, because as we put the points into Assassins and take the detachment, our lack of damage gets even more lacking in some ways. Next up, we'll go to the Eversor to clear out the ones with actions first. So the Eversor Assassin is our anti-infantry combat guy. He's got a 9-inch move and a 9-inch scout. The Vindicare Assassin has infiltrate as well and stealth, and the Colossus is a deep striker. This guy doesn't have either. He has scout 9. So you can put him up right on the front line, and if you go first, move him forward. If you go second, move him back. And when you move him forward that turn, you can also choose to use Overkill, which is his once per battle effect that you can use twice. That gives him an additional 6 inches to his move. He already has advance and charge, and he gets to add 3 attacks to his attack characteristic. This guy hits on 2s and has a precision weapon that is D3. So he would go to 9 attacks with precision, sustained 3. He has sustained 3, not D3, and not precision. He does have precision, but that's not relevant to what I'm talking about. So 9 attacks that all 6s are going to generate 3 additional hits, plus 6 inches to his 9-inch move, taking him up to 15, plus an advance, and plus his charge. Oh, and then you can also move him that additional 9 inches off the line. He can do this ability twice, and what's really nice out of this attachment is because he can do it twice, he's able to hit a flank and stay a little bit safer and hit something. And when you run the Eversor by itself, you don't get those opportunities because you're looking for the big hit because you know he's going to hit and then fall. So that's kind of where that goes. He is anti-infantry 3-up, strength 5, AP 2 damage, so he really, really wants to get into infantry, but because he has that anti-infantry 2-up, he can punch up to things that are toughness 6 and above, which is very, very relevant with things in the Marine meta. AP 2 is good, flat 2 damage is fair and fine. Takes 2 shots to take out a 3-wounder, but you know what? He can throw a bucket of dice. Each one of those 6s gives you 3 additional attacks, and you're hitting on 2s. So as far as for his enhancements, the Eversor model, once per battle round, can use the heroic intervention stratagem for 0 CP, or a counteroffensive. So he can interrupt for 0, or heroic intervention for 0. I have to double check if I think it's because they named the strat and he can use it for 0. I'm actually allowed to use it for 0 because counteroffensive is 2 CP. Don't quote me on that one. I'll have to look that up because I'm questioning that because I know that they changed everything to reduce. And since this is from one of the new detachments, I don't know if that is the cadence. So I have to look that up. You can let me know in the comments because this will be out before we play. Heroic. Okay, here is your assassin that you swap in for. This is the one you drop. That's 35 points for a free heroic. I mean, spend the 1 command point, honestly, especially with some of the other ways to refund CP and things like that. Honestly, just spend the command point if you want to use those things. And realistically, he's going to be running off by himself. He's not going to have he's not going to have a secondary target for heroic intervention. So, not a big fan. His stratagem, I am going to purposely mispronounce because I feel the need to. His enhancement's name, his stratagem's name is Hyper's Tims. Yep, that's exactly how you pronounce that. Hyper's Tims. You can target any agent character, so character model only, and that character model gets +1 toughness, and if it's the Eversor, it gets a 4-up feel no pain. So otherwise, you're spending 2 command points, maybe refunding 1 refunding because of guys that can roll 3-ups. But realistically, you're spending 2 command points to give a character +1 toughness, taking a 3 to a 4 in most characteristics. In this case, you would give the Eversor a 5, and then a 4 up feel no pain, but it's 2 CP. It's 2 command points. That's okay. Okay, that's where they felt that needed to be. Last up is the Callidus Assassin. So the Callidus, I saved her for last because of how interesting she functions. So first of all, she is our Vect. So she's going to make things cost 1 additional command point. Once per battle after, oh, I'm sorry, it's a 12-inch aura, that everything costs an additional command point. She is a model that can leave the battlefield, so do the up-down shenanigans, so I can put her in a position where she can lock down stratagems. At the same time, she's kind of a beast in her own right. She got a flamer that's anti-infantry, 2 up, strength 5, AP 2, 1 damage. Then she has her sword, which has lethal and precision at strength 5, AP 4, flat 2 damage. So she can smack. On top of it, she with the new the new enhancement that she gets, she has even more weird board positioning capabilities, because her enhancement at 40 points allows her twice per battle, twice you can do this, in your movement phase. So that's beginning, that's middle, that's end, that's when you choose to, in your movement phase. You can select any infantry model on the board, remove her, and put them in place of that model, and that model is destroyed. Twice. So, oh, I have 1 unit behind enemy lines. Okay, I'm going to take this 1 guy away and put her there. Oh, and by the way, this is done in the movement phase. So the Callidus can move after. She can charge. There is no limitation to what you can do with the model afterwards. Granted, it's only a Callidus Assassin, but that might be all you need to clear a point for something silly like Subductors or Breachers to sit on the objective. So she is very interesting. She's kind of like a mini Yunkarn. I know some Eldar player in there is going to yell at me for that one, but I feel like she's a mini Yunkarn in some ways. As far as her individual stratagems go, you can target any agent unit with hers. Let's see, if your unit can declare a charge. Your unit can declare a charge. When doing so, you must select. Let's see. Hold on, I better read this whole thing. An agent of the Imperium unit from your army that is within 6 inches or more of an enemy unit and would be eligible to declare a charge. Okay, so you have to be within 6, and within 6 inches of one or. Okay, yeah, so 6 inches away. And she gets, when doing so, you must select 1 or more enemy units to the target attack. Unit does not receive a charge bonus this turn. In addition, if it's Callidus, oh, it's your opponent's charge phase. That's why none of this made sense. I apologize. There you get to go. I'm going to leave that in there just so you guys can all hear me, not being able to read. You know, reading stratagems tells you how to use the stratagems. So you need to read the whole thing. You can't just start at the bottom, because then it doesn't make sense. Got it. You start at top. End of your opponent's movement. End of your opponent's charge phase. So basically, you spend a command point, and the unit that just charged you does not get the effects of the charge bonus. So they do not get their fight first capabilities. They don't count as chargers. So you get to fight first with whomever you have. Very, very nice. In addition, if it's the Callidus that you use this strat on, until the end of the turn, each time a model in that unit makes a melee attack, add 1 to the wound roll. So the Callidus itself will get +1 to wound. All right, there's the assassins. So let's go over everything else. Since we went over 4 of the stratagems, and we talked about what they can be used on extra and why. We also have one that can target agents of Imperium. That gives you reroll wound rolls of 1. It's used in a shooting or fight. And if you use it on an assassin, and that assassin targets the Warlord unit, you can reroll the wound roll instead. So many cadences for that one. And the other one is targeting an agents of the Imperial infantry unit from your army that was selected as target attack. They get the new lone op ability where they can't be targeted unless you're within 18 inches. But if that unit has lone op, so like, I don't know, the assassins, they make the lone op 6 inches. That one could be very interesting. but that only works on the lone op characters. So now we move over into everything else, and we heard what the stratagems that we have can do. So what are we backing this up with? First things first, 2 10-mans of the Shield Boys. Yeah, I mess it up every time, so we're going to call them the Shield Boys. These are a 10-man squad, 3 up, 4 up, with, I'm sorry, 3 up, 4 up, 4 up invuln. They have a little doggy that doesn't have an invuln. 2 attacks apiece, strength 4, AP 1, fight on death. Can pop you for a battle shock test, which is nice with their little ability once per game to units on objectives. And yeah, they're just durable and obnoxious for how cheap they are. And that's exactly what they're going to do. They're just going to block lanes, move up, and try to be slow and obnoxious and get on objectives. What also is going to be slow and obnoxious and get on objectives? Well, I'll tell you, it's going to be breachers. We're going to take 3 10-mans of breachers. Now, what I love about breachers is I feel you don't take them for the unit, you take them for the character that you attach to them to boost the unit, because the unit is relatively cheap. And so are the characters too. But these guys get reroll 1s to wound or reroll wounds if they're shooting at the unit that is on an objective marker, which is what is very crucial, especially when you have things like some of the characters that end up having devastating wound weaponry. I like these guys a lot in different capacities in different ways. It's like they do have guns. You come with a Melta. They got a demolition charge. There's stuff. But without the stratagems from the fleet, the Navy fleet, they're really not going to do much of anything at all. Now, the characters I attach to might be a different story. So out of these 3 10-man squads, 2 are going to go into a Rhino. 1 is going to stay on foot. The 2 that are going in Rhino are going to be led by a character, and that character is going to be an Inquisitor. So we have 2 Inquisitors. They are going to be given the Psychic upgrade. So their units will have a, they will gain the Psychic keyword, and we'll have that big flamer. That's what we're looking for more, is the big flamer. Yeah, force weapon's cool. We want the big flamer. So the flamer is 18-inch range, 2d6, strength 3, AP 2, 1 damage, with devastating wounds. So having something like, reroll wounds gives us more opportunities to hit that devastating wound off a 2d6 flamer. Even so, that is just a brutal weapon to Overwatch with. So I like these guys a lot. And then the Rhino having fire points, I can move up and just use the flamer off of it, and that's great. So I can protect them and use the Rhinos and use the infantry to try to kind of distract and prevent lane from getting to my assassins, so my assassin can get into areas and go predator mode and slaughter everything and then move on to the next. So basically, I'm bringing a cheering section on for the assassins. They get into an area, let the assassins do all the work, and breachers and subjugators are just going to cheer on the sidelines. Sorry, Shield Boys. The other character I'm bringing is, of course, Inquisitor Draxus, again played by a Shark model, as I always love to do. Draxus as well has a flame, not really a flamer per se, but it's still very strong. Because she hits on 3s, and she has 10 different shots. The first 4 shots are anti-infantry 4 up with devastating wounds. She's flat 2 damage, and again, she hits on 3s. So very good chance to be able to hit. No real boost. You can add 1 to the hit roll if you're going at anything that except things that have the Imperium or Chaos keyword. You can give your unit the lone op 18, which is very nice. That's why I have her on the field, so that she can kind of work the backfield and clean things up as stray things try to get into me. She can, infantry units and such, she can take things out. Like I said, 4 shots, hitting on 3, strength 4, AP 0, 2 damage, and she's got dev wounds with an anti-infantry 4 up. Then Psychic Tempest, which is 6 shots. This is not devastating, but it's sustained 2, strength 6, AP 0, 2 damage once again. And having that ability to reroll the wounds is going to be helpful not only for getting the dev wounds, but just getting the damage through and getting the damage to hit and making them make saves. She has a lot of shots. So she's very, very powerful, very good. And combined with the reroll wounds that the breachers give, make her even stronger. Now, granted, like I said, the breachers only trigger for the full rerolls when we're talking units on objectives, and I'm double checking real quick. But they still get the reroll ones inherently reroll ones to wound. If the target's in range of an objective, reroll the wound roll set. So that just makes it just gives so much more value. Next up, we're doing a little bit of proxying here, sort of. We got a Rhino with 10 Deathwatch kill team and the Watchmaster, so I can get out, advance, and charge. You guys know the combo. Now, you may say, wait, those aren't Deathwatch. Lane has Deathwatch. They're black and red. Those are Grey Knights. You're right, they are. I am playing this army and primarily a Grey Knights player, where Lane is primarily the Deathwatch player. So I'm getting a couple shields. I'm going to put on a few guys, the guys with power weapons. I have my demon hammers, and I have my guns. So I'm going to use these guys, and just to keep my heart and soul with, there's only one Marine army, only one type of Marine I use, and that is Sanctus Astaris, or Grey Knights. So, but these guys are Deathwatch today. So, hammers hit hard. These guys hate Xenos. So anything Xenos, we're going to hit them very, very hard. No real access to any crazy rerolls. The Watchmaster does let me use a strat on them for 1 or 0. So that's kind of cool for grenades and stuff like that, or having to reroll charge, things like that. Maybe even a heroic. But typically these guys don't last very long after their initial hit. They're able to hit really hard. They're able to move very fast. They're able to intercept other fast-moving units that are on the line and be a threat to that realm. Because of how this army plays, they don't have to hit on turn 1. They can wait and at least trade with something to overtake an objective, which is usually their best role. And last, 2 Armiger Helverins. Picking up Rhinos. Pick flat 3 damage. I don't have a lot of range options. I do like the Armiger Warglaves, but little underwhelming in combat. So yes, these guys are only AP 1. I still like that flat 3 damage. I still like their volume of shots. And the anti-fly 2-up can come in handy with random things that have fly. So yeah, we're going to try the Helverins again. And they do a really good job of I need a unit that's going to zone out some of my board. So I think they're really good at that too. All right, there it is. That's the Imperial Agents army. That was a lot. I'm sorry. As you can tell, I am pretty passionate about this thing. This army is weird. There are so many weird mechanics that technically can work together and work well, but there is also so many very simple things that can go wrong. And it's just, in some ways, it feels like this army can spiral out of control real fast. And in other ways, it seems like as long as you go according to the plan, this could actually work. Not saying that the assassin detachment is going to be the way to go. The assassins are good, don't get me wrong. And this will be very interesting to run them in this capacity. I did consider dropping 1 down to 3, as I mentioned, and using the swap in, specifically the Eversor, because I think the Eversor's enhancement is a waste of points. And that's the only way to get around it, is by not taking him initially, so I at least save the points for his enhancement in that sense. I mean, I save points on the entire model because I'm not taking it, but that's the way I can save it and swap. Because the detachment rule still allows him to overkill twice, and that's the most important thing, because that's part of his detachment rule. Now, as for everything else, I still think Navy, if any part of Agents could be competitive, I still feel like it's the Imperial Navy fleet. It bases more around the army. It allows you to boost things. It has stratagems that target your battle line units that can have characters that can play with command points for you and refund things, as well as hit really, really pretty hard. I feel like all entirely, that detachment has a better shot. But this is going to be interesting. This is going to be interesting to see, because the assassins are very, very strong and very good at what they do. And there's times where an assassin gets into a position and you just can't push them because of their stat characteristic, their charging you, they're fighting first, whatever it may be. Callidus has fight first. She is going to be an absolute monster in many, many scenarios with the things she can do and the points she can score. Honestly, it'd be great to just take 3 of that version, but that's a reason why you can only take 1, and also you need the enhancement. So can't do that. All right, I'm going to stop talking because tomorrow I'm going to play this thing. I'm going to play this thing in Delane, and surprise, surprise, you guys talked him into it, and just let him tell you what he's playing. I think it's very poetic that you broke him. You got him. All right, guys. As always, thanks for watching, and I will talk to you again soon.